Yay, you.
Hello.
Okay, I think we're recording now. So I guess the recording is really important because I would assume most people aren't going to be able to make it. We have this kind of all over the place time schedules and countries and stuff. So yeah, welcome guys. It's cool to kind of virtually meet you guys. Really, what I'll want to do with kind of this Q&A, I want to kind of start with questions because again, I want to make sure anything doesn't make sense, I can kind of clear that up, and then probably talk about kind of the specific stuff that I wanted to kind of get across that maybe a little bit hard to just do with like sets and reps and stuff like that, but I think will be like common questions, and then kind of give you like a layout of what my whole kind of goal is and then kind of vision in mind for like the 12 weeks. So anyone has kind of a first question, want to break the awkward ice, I'm ready for it.
I got one. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh. Is that breakfast on top of your refrigerator behind you?
What's that?
Is that breakfast up there on top of your refrigerator?
Protein.
No, it's just some like random protein powders.
You got enough?
I always have at least like 2 or 3, 4-ish kind of laying around, so.
30 pounds?
Especially when I have a couple of roommates, we all have the same, like, it's nuts over here.
Well, you know what? I got a question. So I have you sent the program, and oh, and by the way, thanks for putting that for putting the workouts on Photocracy. You saved me a bunch of time.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I mean, I figure you guys already tracked that with that, obviously, so it doesn't take too much time. It's and some of you guys have. I mean, some people are only like an exercise or 2 different, or maybe 3 or 4. Some of them are completely different. So, like, if it says, it may say, like, I kind of went by initials, a lot of people. So, it may say, like, JB, TA, TC, and it means, like, 3 different people are kind of having that same kind of, at least for that, like, upper one workout or something. So, it wasn't too much trouble.
Well, I appreciate it. So, the spreadsheet, I got that, but there's no weights in there. Are we supposed to? I'm not sure how we're supposed to use that spreadsheet in the shreds and dreads tab. So, do we just put in the weight that we think we should be using? You're
talking about like the training weights?
Yes.
Okay. So, I would use to kind of give you kind of a decent layout of how like the 12 weeks will look. Each like 4 weeks. You may have a little bit change in exercise selection, maybe not a huge difference. Maybe like it may go from like a conventional deadlift to a sumo deadlift, or bench press to incline bench press. Like slight variations, but kind of the same concept. Or if you'd like, we'll probably just do like the same exercises. Like you'll notice that a lot of even the big movements like squat, bench, deadlift are pretty light right now, with like 8 to 10 reps or 6 to 8 reps. So essentially, it'd be pretty simple. Like, I think back squat for most people is like 8 to 10 reps. So the sets might be anywhere from like 3 to 5. I kind of adjusted that a little bit. So it may go from like, say, 4 sets of 8 to 10 the first 4 weeks, and then 4 sets of 6 to 8 in week 5 to 8, and then 4 sets of like 4 to 6 on the final like 4 weeks. So what I would do, I mean, most of you guys, I would assume, been training those kind of movements leading up to this. Maybe not in that rep range. Like, I don't really train too much in that rep range, just kind of like here and there. But I would just kind of use like a good RPE scale of like maybe an 8 for this first maybe 1 or 2 weeks. So I say RPE of 8. I would say if I'm just kind of doing a set, if I'm doing a set of bench press and I'm just kind of hammering it out, I'm shooting for like 10 reps. It starts to get heavy at like maybe 5 or 6, and it slows down to 7 and 8, and then I take a little breath and I hit 9. Okay, I probably could have like 2 more left in the tank for me, so I'll rack it. I don't want to kind of like push to failure, and that way you can kind of gauge the weight that you're using by kind of like your fatigue level, as opposed to like an arbitrary number that kind of put on the spreadsheet. I could do like percentages with people and stuff, but again, I wouldn't I wouldn't think that most of you have like a legit like 1 rep max attempt in those lifts anyways, nor probably should you. So the percentage stuff can kind of get out of whack. So the first week, as you're kind of like introducing, especially like quite a bit of volume, the new movements, I always kind of make sure it's difficult, but like again, rack the weight when you have like 2 reps in the tank, no doubt. Like don't try to like really push it, because you'll have 3 other weeks in this rep range to push things. So say if like you're deadlifting the first day, maybe it's like 225 for 6 to 8 reps. Maybe you hit like 7s and you're like, yeah, I probably could have got 8, 9, 10 reps, but I kind of left a little in the tank. And then next week try to do 245, see how that feels. Maybe I hit 7 reps, I probably had 1 rep in the tank. Maybe next week go up to a smaller jump, like 255, and then you're like, okay, 7s are pretty damn hard. And the final week, maybe you go for like a small jump, like only 5 pounds, like 260, and you hit that for like sets of 6. So you took your 225 that was like, pretty difficult, but not your max, and then you finished with like 260 for pretty damn good effort at the end of that 4 weeks. So you should kind of try to ramp up your intensity, or just like how hard you're working in like those 4-week blocks. They'll kind of reset that second 4 weeks. Again, you'll have like lower rep ranges, so you can kind of use that first week to kind of like feel out that rep range, and then push it for 3 weeks and kind of do that kind of process.
Okay, so you're not going to you're not going to tell us what weight we're supposed to be deadlifting or bench pressing or squatting.
I mean, after week 1, I'll definitely give you like some recommendations, but like again, if there's like 20 people in this group, we're gonna have people deadlifting between 135 and 335, and
right.
all kind of in between there. So, so like, give me an example of like what you would deadlift for like a set of 5.
I'm sorry?
Like, what would be a good range of like what you could probably deadlift for a set of 5?
I know my 1 rep max for 5, probably 200.
Okay, so say maybe even be a little conservative with 6 to 8 reps, say like 175, 165, something around there. And then if you'll notice, like on the spreadsheets, it'll say like an overall difficulty on the bottom of that. So say if you track 175 for 4 sets of 8 this week, and then you give me an overall difficulty of like 7. Like, I mean, I was working out, but it wasn't like I wasn't busting my ass, right? 7. Then for next week, I'll probably give you a range to shoot for. It's like, okay, 175 was 7. We kind of want to work in that 8 to 9 intensity. Let's see if you can pull between 180 and 195. So then the next week, your goal would be to deadlift somewhere in between that 180 to 195, depending on how you felt. Again, we get an overall kind of like difficulty for that. Maybe that was still a 7, so we'll jump up that kind of range to maybe it's 190 to 200, and we'll kind of like use that good range, but that'll be individual. That won't be, it'll kind of be based off your first week and how difficult things were, and then I'll adjust that for each person. But it'd be almost impossible to do that kind of a blanket across the board. So.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought maybe you were going to tell us to take our 1 rep max and then do, start at 70 or 75% of your 1 rep max.
We could, I mean, for some people we could do that, but in the end, that's just a good starting point. Like, it's not incredibly relevant for a lot of people. I like to kind of use weight ranges because, or even like same thing, a percentage range, because you have days when you go in the gym and 75% feels like it's nothing, and you have days you go in the gym and 75% feels like it's 100%.
Right.
So I would much rather have people kind of give them a range of like just weights, because everyone can speak in their own weights as opposed to percentages. And I mean, for like, especially for people who aren't competitive powerlifters, like I won't even have my like physique people do 1 rep maxes on stuff. It's just like, you're not building really much. It's just kind of like a test. And if it's not a part of your sport, it could be a cool like just competitive thing to do, but by no means you need to be able to test a 1 rep max on any exercise. You can test a 3 rep max or a 5 rep max and still get like a good measurement of your progress. But yeah, I think if I give people a weight range, so like again for you, your first say 175 super easy, and the next week, we still progress. The percentage will go up, so it'd be like 180 to 200. But again, if you feel good that day, you can push the upper range of that weight. If you feel bad, you're rushed for time, whatever, life happens. You can push that lower end of the weight range, still get a bunch of work. So.
Okay.
Trent, are you here? Trent?
Yeah, mate. Yep, I'm here, mate.
I saw
Midnight.
you come in here. I just kind of talked about, we're just doing like some random questions right now, and then I'll just kind of go over some basic things I think everyone will ask about. Ed just kind of talked about how he wanted to start with like weights, like how would how much weight to pull for 6 to 8 reps or whatever. I pretty much just explained to him. I want most of you guys to kind of take this first week like moderately easy. So definitely don't like push to failure. I wouldn't even try to set any PRs this week. I'm trying to like feel out all the exercises, make sure the form is down, stuff like that. And then for the next 3 weeks, you'll be doing the same rep ranges. You'll pretty much just be able to kind of ramp up the intensity after that.
Yeah, I picked up on that from what he was saying and you were saying. I had the same sort of question around where to start from, having always been focused around five rep ranges. So it's kind of hard. Today I actually gave out the session a go with upper number 1 to deadlift up 8 reps is pretty tough at doing about 70% of that.
Vic, can you say that again, man?
Some background noise.
It's hard to hear you guys. I'm trying to put my headphones in, see if that helps. All right, Trent, say that again, man.
Yeah, sorry, man. I was just saying I had the same sort of questions where to start, having been used to doing 5 reps and doing workouts on greater than 5, I guess, for 18 minutes. That gave the upper workout number 1 a go today, and doing deadlifts, going for 8 reps at say 150 kilos when my 3 rep max is 210. It was pretty damn tough. It was bloody tough. Going for 8 reps.
And Ed and I and everybody else kind of talked about that. It will kind of look like a linear progression if we choose to do that. So after this 4 weeks, if someone says like, hey, I don't like this exercise, or hey, I want to switch this up, then we'll probably will. But if you don't want to do that, I feel like a good example would be for deadlift, do like 6 to 8 reps for the first 4 weeks, and then for the next 4 weeks it'll probably be 4 to 6 reps, and then for the final 4 weeks it'll probably be 2 to 4 reps. So you'll see it kind of linear. We'll get lower reps, which will in turn make you have higher weight. But it does. I mean, you kind of try to build with those 6 to 8 reps. I know it's not. It's pretty damn hard. I pulled 6s yesterday, like off the floor in blocks, and my traps are feeling it today. But I think there's some good merit into. I mean, that's not high reps. I think if you're going above like 10 with anything like that, it's probably just going to be more of conditioning than like strength stuff. Yeah. That 6 to 8 rep range can be pretty beneficial for building up strength and building the muscles you kind of need to pull heavier weights. So. Can everybody hear me pretty good?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Greg, I have some issues with my form, specifically for like the straight leg deadlift. And I don't really have access to anybody at the gym that can correct it. Can I have like my husband or son videotape me? If I send it to you, you can maybe say, this is what I'm doing wrong on some of this stuff?
No, yeah, definitely. If anyone has like form stuff, this kind of like awesome timing for you guys. So this week I'm supposed to be filming something I really, really hate. Like, there's a few good tutorials like with the squat and deadlift on YouTube for my friends Ben Escrow. They're like crazy long, but they're awesome. But like as far as a good, like, I mean, Footocracy has, I think, like kind of 10, 20-second videos, but it's kind of just the person like doing the exercise, and not like foot position, hand position, like an in-depth thing. So this week I'm actually supposed to be filming like dozens of exercises in a gym. Someone's going to film me. I'm kind of going to go over stuff. So that'll probably be available to you guys hopefully by next Monday. So that'll be a cool project. But yeah, if anyone has like form kind of things on any exercise, you can definitely shoot me an email or whatever. As long as I can get the link, that's fine. Preferably like any kind of hinge movement or almost any exercise at all, like a direct side view is probably going to be the best way I can tell something. You're going to give me a deadlift, I'm looking at your chest. I can maybe see a little bit of things, but it's not going to tell me a ton about like how close the bar is to you and if you're kind of packing your lats. And same thing with a squat. Like if I see a squat from the front, I can't see too much. So any kind of side angle would probably be preferred. But yeah, that's a definitely you can do that. Yeah.
Great, thanks.
Do you just have a problem with the straight leg deadlift? Like the I guess like what's like your what do you think your issue is?
Well, I guess I'm trying to bend my knees. I can't figure out what the movement's supposed to be, like what muscle I'm supposed to be activating. I mean, like with the regular deadlift, I kind of get it, and I know I have to like look up to keep the right form. But with the straight leg, it feels really funny. I did it for the first time yesterday, and I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to teach a lot of people like a straight leg deadlift or an RDL, and like the difference between RD, like a Romanian deadlift, and a straight leg deadlift is like very, very minimal. And the difference between a Romanian deadlift and a regular deadlift is pretty minimal. And it's really just, I guess, a good cue. And again, this is easier if I'm like there with you. But a good cue for either a Romanian deadlift or a straight leg deadlift. And when it says like straight leg deadlift, or like I think on Fitocracy it says stiff leg deadlift, you still want like a slight bend in your knee, especially like for females who can really like hyperextend their knee. Don't like actually like flex your quads and lock your knees out. You still want to kind of have a pretty athletic position. But a good cue I'll give people is like if I had a rope tied around your waist and I was just pulling you from behind, your knees wouldn't really bend. You would just kind of like collapse forward. And then again, think about if you were trying to resist that, you wouldn't bend your knees to stand back up. You kind of just like flex your torso to stand back up. So that's a good cue people use, or a lot of people will use a cue like touch your butt to like the back wall. So if I was doing like a straight leg deadlift here, I wouldn't think of, if I was trying to touch my butt to that wall, bending my knees would get me any closer. I'm kind of just like aggressively, like a slight bend in my knee, and then aggressively kind of sticking my butt out. So. It's probably one of the hardest exercises to teach people though, because they want to like turn it into a squat, but not a deadlift, and then it's like, yeah, so.
All right, thanks.
Carl, you got any questions for me?
Yeah, I've been wondering about the spreadsheet. What kind of things should we fill out in it?
I think you're muted, Carl.
Carl, can you turn yours up or?
Just adjust your microphone.
Want to try again,
Can you hear me
Carl?
now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to use the bad microphone, I guess.
That's good now.
Yeah, okay. I was wondering about what should we fill out in the spreadsheet? I mean, the training maxes and stuff, should we fill out that, or is that just something?
No, the training maxes are for like a few people. Let me get to one of you guys' spreadsheets real quick. A few people.
I put mine in.
Yeah, I say if you guys want to do that, that's definitely cool. I'll probably also put in like a PR sheet. I'll give a lot of my clients. It just like has a lot of like the bigger exercises you're gonna PR on, like squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press, straight leg deadlift, stuff like that. And then we'll kind of just like track your progress with your PRs. But as far as like what I want you to actually track, just like a pretty basic how you do it in Fitocracy. So like if you're going to deadlift 135 for 8, you just do 135 times 8 or whatever, and then however many sets you did that. Or if it was like different, so 135 for 8, comma 145 for 8, comma 155 for 8, whatever. But you don't really have to fill out those training maxes. Those are more just maybe for people who are specifically trying to get into powerlifting, or by the end of like the 12 weeks, we're starting to get like into some heavier movements. Again, if you're wanting to set like some strength PRs, that can kind of be a good number to shoot for. But again, I'd rather people focus on like 8 rep maxes and 5 rep maxes and 3 rep maxes and try to like progress those than just kind of having singles all the time. Who else came in here? Greg, are you here? Maybe?
I've got a question, Greg. My name's Darren.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Okay. Right now, I'm actually training with a group, and our coach has got us doing a very similar rep scheme to what you're prescribing, but we're gone 5 sets of 8 for bench press, deadlift, and the squat. Now, is it okay to go with that sort of thing? But some of the accessories that you prescribed are not in what we're training in the gym, but I'm able to do those at home. So is it okay if I go along with those things in the gym and then do the extra accessory set you prescribed and back at home?
Yeah, I mean, it might be kind of weird right now. I mean, it might be fine right now because we're doing kind of 6 to 10-ish for all the big movements. That'll be the same for 4 weeks, and then it will kind of drop down. I have no idea what.
We're actually tapering down in the same fashion.
Okay.
It'll probably be 5 sets of 6. For the next 4 weeks, at least, it'll be 5 sets of 8, then 5 sets of 6, then it'll eventually taper down to 5 sets of 3 with our everyday max.
Yeah, that's probably just almost exactly what will happen if people don't want to switch their exercises a little bit. For the big movements, you'll probably end up with 2 to 4 reps on deadlift and 4 to 6 reps on bench and squat at the end of the 4 weeks. If you want to auto-regulate that volume, so I mean like auto-regulate the amount of sets too, that's fine. I think I put most people between 3 to 5, depending on, like if someone said they hadn't been training for a very long time, or if they kind of came back from a layoff, I don't want to kill them with a whole bunch of volume. So I started with maybe like 3 sets, or someone doesn't have a lot of time, like 3 sets I think is fine. And again, if someone has been training for a while, they've been doing the movements, they're really interested in strength, probably more towards that 4 or 5 sets can be ideal. And then even what I would suggest for people really interested in strength is to that final 4 weeks taper your volume even more. So I guess simple definition with volume would be your amount of sets and your amount of reps. So essentially like 5 by 8 is, what's that, math's horrible, 42 reps. So if I were to have someone do 3 by 8, 4 by 8 even, that's fewer reps, that's fewer volume. So what you can do on like that final 4 weeks, if you're doing like 5 sets of 2 to 4 on deadlift, you can just go like 5 sets of 2 to 4, and then 4 sets of 2 to 4, 3 sets of 2 to 4, and then maybe 2 sets of 2 to 4. So your overall volume is dropping significantly. You're pulling like, not half of what you would be starting with. That could be a good way to taper that too.
Yeah, I'd imagine, well, the total amount of weight lifted would stay very similar.
What's that?
The total amount of weight lifted would still be staying very similar.
Yeah, but again, if you taper your volume in an intelligent manner, that can just kind of allow you to progress in strength a little bit faster. I mean, also kind of common sense. If I told someone to deadlift triples only twice, they're probably going to be able to do a heavier weight if I told them to do it 4 times. You're just doing less work, so you're probably going to be able to do more weight. So,
Yeah.
sweet, good question.
Thanks.
What else we got?
Greg, what's a bear complex?
Okay, so also this is something else I wanted to kind of note, and people didn't see this in the Google Drive. Like if you hover over, so like if you can kind of see there's like a black little, I don't know, call it like a tab almost marked on some of the exercises. So if you see like on dips it says this, on dumbbell Bulgarian split squat, on bear complex, there's a little like black mark. And if you hover over that, it should have either like a link or an explanation or something like that. For a lot of the complexes, it does. So again, that's just kind of something to be aware of. Like for dips, if you hover over dips, it should say, like if dips give you tricep or shoulder issues or elbow issues, you can replace these with tricep pushdowns or something. So there's a lot of notes in there, and that may only be available on a computer as opposed to a tablet or a phone. I'm not 100% sure.
All right. Yeah, I'm looking at the tablet, and I don't see any.
Okay.
I just see bear complex.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can look at it on my computer. I can figure it out.
Okay, yeah, but there's actually a pretty like simple link. See if I can post a picture in here. I think the link is to Jen Sinkler, if you know who she is. But the bear complex has been around for, I know, a really, really long time. It's essentially it's like a power clean to like your shoulders, and then you'll press overhead, drop it down to your back, do a back squat, press overhead, and that's like kind of one complex. I think I started most people off like 4 to 5, so you'll go pretty light on those. It'll be a conditioning exercise, not really a like true strength exercise. There's a lot of complexes you'll see like that kind of towards the end of the workout. So like on lower 1 for a lot of people, it's bear complex. For upper 2 for a lot of people, it's farmer's walk, which is more of a conditioning exercise than anything if you're going pretty heavy. Then I have like a lot of people will either do like a leg press complex or a squat, like a back squat, front squat complex. And again, those notes will be, the description of those will be in those notes. It's kind of like semi-complicated. I mean, not really. And I think for some people, I should have put those things in the Fitocracy workouts too. So like I think I put like for lower 2, the squat complex should be like 5 back squats, 5 front squats, and kind of back and forth, back and forth. So, but yeah, look at those notes, and then if you have any questions, definitely hit me up. That'll probably take care of a lot of that.
Okay.
Yeah, but the note, I don't see the notes on, for example, bear complex or dips, but I have notes on other stuff. So.
You don't see those notes?
No, but there are no notes on the bear complex or the dips, but I have notes on the Bulgarian splits and the squat complex and stuff like that. So.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's
check it over again and just make sure everything's in place.
Yes, I don't think Fitocracy has the bear complex and like a description, so.
I've been doing one for a while and didn't realize what it was called.
Yeah, a lot of people just call it like barbell complex.
It's just a bit of fun, but bloody painful too.
Yeah, they're rough. I was doing I did like set of 5, set of 4, set of 3 the other day, and it's fun conditioning though. It's a lot more fun than just kind of like, again, I try to make conditioning for people not something like they have to do. You know, most people like to kind of train. Most people don't like to be on elliptical for like half an hour. So those kind of complexes can be nice ways to finish workouts, and again, it's probably more functional to squat and do stuff like that for higher reps than it would be to just kind of do something like an elliptical or something. Okay, Carl, that bear complex should be in there for you.
Yep.
Anybody new? All right, any other questions? Where's the picture?
Oh, I got one. Are you going to provide us with our macros?
Yes. Most people should have those in there. So on the, you're able to see all the different tabs on your spreadsheet, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So on weekly tracking for you, you see that tab?
Yes.
Okay, so it should say like 6/9/2014, and then your macros calories should be right under that.
Oh, okay. I thought that was an example.
Oh, no. That's pretty individualized for every person. And again, that's a good base off what you guys reported in your activity levels, what you guys reported in your past intake, and then kind of just like some general idea of what I can tell people based on like their age, their gender, their strength level, stuff like that, kind of like what's a good amount for them. But again, that's anyone can kind of give you guys a set like macro for whatever, but then like the hard part is making adjustments. So again, for a lot of people, those will probably change every 2 weeks. Probably won't change from this week to next week unless I see like just a severe, like maybe if you start your week at 190 and you're in your week at like 184 or something, I mean it's crazy like that, I'd probably make an adjustment. But for most people, they're probably gonna be around a decent weight range. And then again, I'll take like an average of your weigh-ins. We'll get reporting on like how you're feeling in your training, how you're feeling with hunger, all those things, and then we'll kind of make adjustments. Probably not till 2 weeks after, so I can see the change in weight, like kind of a 2-week weigh-in, and then from there, probably be like a weekly adjustment, or at least a weekly looking at it to see if we need to make an adjustment.
Okay, so Greg, what's the order? It's got to be fat, carbs, and protein, right? In that order.
Yeah. I go with that, and again, there's a note on there that says that, but yeah, that's just like it's how it is on a food label. So I feel like that's the easiest way to. I mean, I think everyone does. I've seen literally people do it in all 3 different orders. So, but again, that's just like the easiest way for me to stabilize it. I say, look how it is on a food label. It goes fat, carb, protein from kind of like top to bottom. So.
Only works if in America, mate.
What's up?
In Australia, it's protein. Only works if you're in America. In Australia, it's protein first.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay, so it's an American standardized thing.
Yeah.
So I've been waiting till tomorrow to start this. I've had everything I need right here. I got my macros. I got the program. I wasn't sure if you were going to give us what weight to use, but I could have started this last week.
Yeah, really like, so this 12 weeks is technically like 13, because this first week we just needed you guys to like get all the information for me so I can get you kind of like your own programs, your own nutrition, because if not, if you would have started the other week, then you kind of would have wasted an entire week just having me get anything organized. So you guys will have 12 weeks of training, so this first week kind of like was just I'm not really sure how to call it, introduction week, but like training wise stuff will start the 9th.
Okay.
And then again, if once you look on the computer, you'll see it'll say like where it says that your exact macros. Will be a note there that kind of has this like some basic things for you. It's kind of like a generic paragraph that everyone has, and then there's something below that that's kind of like individual to you, kind of like stipulating why I put your macros where they were. then kind of like how we'll make adjustments from there. You'll see that when you see the notes, though.
Okay.
Somebody else was going to speak up, maybe? Oh.
On the daily tracking, there's a column there for time. Is it the time for the weigh-in?
Yeah, you can just do like half-hour increments. So say if it's like 7, you can just put 7, or if it's 8:0, or if it's 8:27, you can just put 8:30, whatever. That will allow. That's more kind of like OCD if someone's really trying to get crazy lean. Importance. But again, I would say at least half of you, either like fat loss was your main goal, or it was at least something you talked about in your questionnaire that made me feel like it was at least somewhat important to you. But again, the important thing of having like an average of weigh-ins of, like I say, part of the spreadsheet, a minimum of 4 per week, is because your body weight can just fluctuate so much. And you can, this is kind of like, if you just weigh yourself regularly, you can see this. Say if you normally wake up at like 5 or 6 in the morning, you have like a certain kind of baseline weight, and then you're probably eating like the same macros, same calories. But then on the weekend you sleep until 9, and you're down like 1.5 pounds. And you're like, oh, I lost weight. Like, no, you probably just weighed in at a different time, and that could be a pretty big difference if you're like a lot of people who may wake up at 5 or 6 in the morning on the weekdays, maybe like 8, 9 on weekends. That's a pretty big difference. So that can allow me to see like, okay, she was at 124 for a good amount of time, that she had this 122. What's up with that? I can kind of see like, oh, she woke up 2 hours earlier, or 2 hours later, or whatever. It can help me kind of like justify any kind of weight fluctuations that wouldn't make sense by like your activity level and your nutrition. So that makes sense.
Yep.
I also put a note, again, I'll just say this because a lot of people might see those notes, like weigh-ins, have them first thing in the morning before you drink or eat anything, just because that's, again, your weight can probably fluctuate at least 1%. So again, if you're talking about someone who's 200 pounds, that's only 2 pounds either way. That's kind of just a natural fluctuation. So someone who's 200 pounds will probably have weigh-ins during a week somewhere around 198 to 202. And again, that's hard to kind of see any like good changes between like fat loss or muscle gain there. So we need to kind of like try to regulate as much stuff as we can. And the big things will be water and food that will kind of transiently increase your weight. If you can just test this. If you go, get on the scale at 180, and then you go down a big glass of water in 10 seconds, you'll be 181. You know what I mean? So that can really mess with your true weight loss or fat loss. So first thing you can in the morning, if you have a scale there, before you eat or drink anything, just hop on the scale. So.
I usually gain about 1 to 2 pounds during my workout.
What's that?
I usually gain about 1 or 2 pounds during my workout.
Yeah, I'm the same way because I'll just like kill water. So
yeah,
and you see people do that. I mean, I've seen them do that. I'm working in a gym. It's horrible to see. I'll see people, go, they'll come in. The weight are at least in our university rec, the only scales in the weight room. So especially like girls will come in, only time they're in the weight room, weigh in on the scale, go like work out for half an hour, then come back and weigh in afterwards. And I'm just like, it doesn't work like that. And they may lose a pound. They're like, oh, I lost a pound. But it's like they're going to go eat or drink, and it's like you didn't lose anything. So, yeah. Any other questions?
Okay. Greg, can you go over the HIT section on shreds and deads tab?
Yeah. Are you talking about just where it says that in the like weekly tracking?
No, on underneath lower 2 on the shreds and deads tab, there's a high intensity on the off days or post training. So
exactly.
How often do you want to see us do this?
That'll be individual, and again, so the weekly tracking. If you guys ever get like kind of lost with stuff, every single week your updates for your macros. Your frequency of training will probably always be the same. So if you're probably starting off at 4 days a week, it's probably going to end at 4 days a week and 3 days a week, same thing. But the change in your macros and the change in your cardio will always be in that weekly tab. So, say if it's 100 grams of fat, 300 carb, 200 protein, and then you'll see kind of like that's what it is at June 9th, and then June 16th, it may be something different, and June 23rd, it may be the same, June 30th, maybe something different, whatever. Same thing with cardio. You may start at 1 HIIT session per week with no lists, and then next week it may be 1 HIIT session per week with no lists. Third week it may be 1 HIIT session with 20 minutes of lists, whatever. So the weekly tab will see a good outline of every change you'll need to make, and then again the training tab will kind of be a 4-week period. So I think for you, Ed, I'm actually in your spreadsheet, right? What I have for you is just 1 HIIT session, and I'd specify that to be session 1. For some people, I told them to do, like some people have them doing both of those. Some people I have them doing either or, and then I let some people actually just choose. So if you have one of those HIIT sessions, session 1, and then I also have one time of 30-minute low intensity for you. And that'll be in your weekly tab. But again, the training tab will let you know which one of those to do, and also kind of like a general outline of how to do them. So.
Okay. Yeah, I see it here.
And again, you won't be able to see, like yours is the session 1 bike. There's just like a short link to that kind of prescription, I guess. It's kind of on there with the time, the rounds, whatever, but the article there posted makes it really simple. Same thing with the elliptical. I kind of have the entire workout listed as a note. So once you see that on a computer, you'll be able to access that link and then get more info on that.
Got it.
I just use those notes because if I don't do that, those spreadsheets will get so cluttered with crap. It'll just be like, just so much noise. So I use those notes to kind of, make things succinct as possible, and you can get more information with a note.
Right.
Do we have any nutrition questions? I figured I'd be getting a ton of nutrition questions.
Yes, I do. I eat low carb, high fat, and you put me down for almost 200 carbs on one day. And personally, from experience, I can't eat that many carbs. I go bananas.
You said what?
Yeah, I can't eat that many carbs. I need the fat. I need bacon. I need cheese. I need.
Well, what's your fat at?
Body fat, or for that day, it's 60 to 80 grams. Which is, I have to really strain myself to not eat enough.
Okay, so now that I'm looking at your spreadsheet, again, I individualize all these macros, so I don't remember yours specifically. Forgive me. Now that I'm looking at yours, though, you see that 6 times a week, though, your carbs are low, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that one kind of I wouldn't call that a true refeed day because those carbs on the other day are still, 180 to 200 is not high. But what that will allow you to do is, again, if someone's on a lower carb kind of diet like that, their workouts can kind of suffer just because glycogen, carbohydrates are just going to be your primary source of fuel for those exercises. So even if someone does like to prefer to eat a higher fat, lower carb diet, I'll throw in like 1 or 2 relatively high carb days per week, and that'll allow them to get in those carbs they need just to perform at a higher level. It'll allow you to, if you're glycogen depleted, especially with this type of training, which is pretty high, and this isn't like a strength routine where you're going to be doing a lot of rest periods, and like how I trained, I hit a set of 5 instead of my ass for 3 minutes. It's more intense than that. There's not really a lot of breaks. So having that higher carb day for you, I think will be really important for kind of like having your doing your workouts for the next couple of weeks. That makes sense?
Yeah, but I don't agree with you. But we could discuss nutrition for like ages. So from my personal, an anecdote. I work as a mailman, and I run instead for 3 to 6 hours a day. And when I did I was on a strict LCHF. I ate lunch, and then I ran 3 hours of stairs, and then I hit the gym for another 2 hours, and I wasn't hungry for another 2 hours after that. And I had energy just shooting out of my ass. I can go on for forever, really.
I think you need to give that to all of us a little bit. Yeah, we can make adjustments off of that too. Again, I can't off the top of my head see what your calories would be at that level, but I would at least give it a week or two, see how you feel on those. Again, if you're like, what's like your baseline intake of carbs right now? You have like a rough idea?
Yeah, about 50 grams, I think, 50 to 100 grams.
Okay, so I mean, even bumping that up to like I think 190 would be your average on those 190 would average on those. That's like 200 calories more. That's not going to be like a huge dramatic increase. So again, 180 to 200 is not a huge jump for you. I would try it out, see how your workouts feel. You know, best case scenario, you're like, holy shit, I didn't know I could have this much energy in a training session. Worst case scenario is like, I hate carbs, get me on higher fat, and then you can do that in 2 weeks. So.
Yeah. And a specific day we should eat that 1 day a week meal?
Yeah. I do have like some general recommendations for people. I would say, so like the general things I'll tell people is I want it to happen prior to their most intense workout of the week. That would be like from a performance standpoint. So I would say like for me in my training session right now, like my high rep squats probably like my most, actually probably my deadlift day. So like if I was going to deadlift on Saturday, I would have my higher carb day on Friday. Again, that way, a lot of people do it on the day of, and that could work if you're training later in the day, but you need time for those carbs to be stored. So if I'm having my high carb day on Saturday and I'm training at noon, I'm not going to be able to store much before I train anyway. So I'd want that high carb day to be Friday. Then I can store those carbohydrates that I may be lacking, especially in your case when you're going pretty low carb the rest of the days. You'll need those carbohydrates the day before, and again, you'll be stored up, ready to go for your highest intensity workout on Saturday. But all 4 of your workouts, to be honest with you, are none of them should be incredibly more difficult than the others. Maybe the deadlift right now, just because there's 6 to 8 reps, would probably be a good place to start. That'd probably make it a weekend too, which makes it, that's the more practical thing I tell people. Again, I'm recording this too, so I want people to know this. Like the cheat meal, cheat day, binge, whatever you want to call it, I definitely don't subscribe to that. I think that can do quite a bit of not like damage, like legit damage, but I think it can hold you from progressing your fat loss goals a lot more than people think it can. And it's like just a vicious cycle of like, you know, you eat good for a few days and you reward yourself for that with, you know, all this other food, and then it's just kind of like this cycle of like, you know, it gets worse and you eat shittier food and then you're like, oh, losing motivation or whatever. As you guys kind of noted, if you've read through the flexible dieting guidelines, I tell you guys you can eat those foods. Like if you want a burger, if you want cheesecake, if you want whatever, you can eat those foods, fit it into your macronutrient goals for the day, hit your fiber, hit your fruits and vegetables, and whatever. And that way you can enjoy those foods, you don't feel restricted as much, but again, you don't stop your progress. You're pretty much at what you're supposed to be, calorie, energy-wise, every single day. You're eating the food you want, and you're kind of just, you know, dropping fat, gaining muscle, whatever, and it's not so much of a, you know, roller coaster ride of these weight fluctuations and your training's up and down and you're bloated one day, you look good the next day. It messes with people's head to do stuff like that. I really don't even want to talk about anymore. The refeed day though, so for you guys, I would say before your most intense workout, which I would say for most people is going to be before their I would say their deadlift workout in this program, maybe. But again, that's a more subjective thing. If you feel like your lower two is your hardest workout, have your high carb day before that. If you feel like it's your upper one, whatever, have your high carb day before whatever workout you feel is the most intense.
Greg, what's your thoughts on intermittent fasting and early morning fasted training?
Okay, so I would start like with a muscle gain. I'm gonna kind of break this up into two. I have a really bad echo. If the goal is muscle gain, I would definitely not recommend intermittent fasting, just because it's going to limit the amount of time you could eat, and that means it's kind of common sense. I definitely think intermittent fasting was a pretty cool thing. It told people you probably don't need to eat 5, 6, 7 times a day. But if someone's trying to like maximize muscle anabolism, I would say a minimum of 3 to 4 high protein meals per day is going to be ideal. And if you're not eating till noon or something like that, whenever you decide to eat, you're going to kind of limit the amount of times you can maximize protein synthesis. So from a muscle gain perspective, I would say it's probably not a good idea. Again, do you need to slam something the first 5 minutes you wake up? Probably not that important either, but I would just kind of eat as you're hungry. From a fat loss perspective, though, I don't think there's anything really special about the idea of restricting like a 6-hour window or 10-hour window or whatever. But I do like the idea, if someone, I'll have all my clients do this, and it just kind of helps with hunger, I feel like, and I'm assuming since you asked this question, you have some background with it. I have a lot of my clients, especially like on days they don't train, they're obviously not in the gym, or maybe they're just doing cardio or something. Maybe it's like a weekend, they have a lot of free time, and like just foods are, it's just kind of like a bad scenario for people. And I'll just tell them, like, maybe not go till noon or 1 or whatever, but just restrict that first meal for as long as you can. Again, if you're starving or something, eat. But like if you wake up and you're not hungry, don't arbitrarily eat. And what that can do for people is, again, if they kind of push that, they're normally eating at like 6 or 7 in the morning, and they can push that back to like 10 or 11. Say if they're going to sleep at like 10, it's only a 12-hour window, so they're able to eat the same amount of food in a smaller amount of time, which usually ends up in them, if they're not counting calories, they unconsciously eat less, just because you can only eat so much in a sitting before it's just like, I'm full kind of a thing. Even if you're pretty hungry, even if I was starving, I probably couldn't eat more than like 10, maybe 1,000 or 1,200 calories in a sitting before I just wanted to throw up, even if I hadn't eaten all day, So what I'll do is restrict that kind of window for people. So if they are counting calories or macros, they're going to feel less hungry than they would if they kind of ate over a long period of time. And if they do, or if they don't count calories, then it can create a deficit in that sense. So there's nothing magical about it as far as like, I don't think it's going to, I think if someone's eating 3,000, if the same person eats 3,000 calories dispersed over, 16 hours or 8 hours, I don't think it's going to make a damn bit of difference. As far as like hunger, I think it can make a big difference for some people to kind of have that window a little bit smaller. But then on training days, if you are going to train, I would definitely have, again, if you're like super early in the morning, like 5 or 6 in the morning, it may not even be practical to eat something. But if you're training like at lunch or something like that, I definitely would make sure I get some sort of food in, just to kind of fuel that workout. If someone trains super early in the morning, like as soon as they wake up, I kind of like just like maybe a fruit, like a scoop of like whey protein. That's kind of like a cheap version of branched chain amino acids, because those are, I think there's only a few amount of stipulations or times where those can be beneficial. So I'm not a huge fan of branched chains. So again, maybe if you have, one of the people that doesn't stomach stuff in the morning, they can be fine. But if you're training early in the morning, I always do like a banana and a scoop of whey. That usually sits pretty well with people. That will give you some sort of carbohydrate and protein before your workout, or even do like something intra-workout, like I'd like a scoop of like maybe like some Gatorade or whey protein or something. And again, that's going to kind of give you the same purpose there. So, did I answer your question, kind of?
Kind of.
The answer is maybe, and it depends.
Yeah. I've been doing it for a year and a half, and I don't get the hunger anymore. So.
Yeah. What time do you train?
6:30.
In the morning.
Yeah.
So you'll like, what do you do for your like peri-workout, like around your workout nutrition?
Pre-workout. Use a pre-workout and some BCAAs, and then intra BCAAs and BCAAs again post. Until I eat.
And then when's your next meal? So what, you finish around like 7:30 or 8?
12, 1 o'clock.
Dang, that's impressive. And that,
I do BCA.
you found that helps with hunger?
Yeah, I do drink coffee as well, so it kind of helps. But.
Yeah. So usually like Sundays, I almost never train on Sundays, and I usually get back to most of my clients on Sundays. I don't intentionally intermittent fast, but what I'll do is like I like to just get a cup of coffee and go to work. And I might look up and it may be like 10 or 11. I'm like legit not hungry. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like coffee's like the greatest fat burner of all time, I feel like. But yeah, I put that. You guys should all have the supplementation tab. I put that branched amino acid kind of in that gray area. If you look at your spreadsheet, it says like recommended stuff, not recommended stuff, gray area. The gray area is like, do I think everyone needs branched amino acids? Definitely not, but I think it can be appropriate in some situations, kind of like what he was saying. If you're going to intermittent fast, it'd be a lot better to have branched chains than to have nothing from 6 to 12. So.
Hey, Greg, you in that tab that you just brought up, you have creatine listed there as a suggested supplement.
Yep.
You're just suggesting. You're not saying that we should, to get through this program, be.
Oh, no. Supplements are definitely, everything on that page is definitely a supplement. So I tell people the difference you'll see in changing your food is probably, 5-fold of what you'll see in adding the supplement. So even the best supplement, legal supplement, which is probably creatine monohydrate, you might see, 1 or 2 pounds of muscle in your career from. You know what I mean? So the effect you're going to get from that is going to be, again, it's a performance-enhancing supplement made for people who are trying to get that kind of upper echelon of performance. So again, I put it in there as options for people because, again, some people want to push the envelope, and do those things. And again, I only really recommend stuff. I recommend stuff that's cheap because I feel like you should be spending your money on food. So I don't like to recommend. Another reason why I don't love branched chains because they're just incredibly expensive. So I recommend stuff that's moderately cheap, has science behind it, and then is safe. So I would say creatine is probably going to be if you're taking a supplement that's not like a general health supplement like D3 or multi or fish oil. Those are probably like just general health, not really performance enhancers. The first like performance enhancing supplement I would tell someone to take though would probably be creatine. So, but yeah, by no means is it required.
Okay. And the BCCAs, those aren't those like if you're taking a protein powder, aren't those amino acids in the protein powder already?
Yeah, branched amino acids are just leucine, isoleucine, and valine, and those are actually just like you look at so a complete protein is the definition of a complete protein is any food source that has all the essential amino acids. So kind of in short, like there's 20 amino acids that our bodies can use like to build proteins and structures in our body. Depending on your age and stuff, it's usually 8 or 9 of those that are essential. So essential meaning our bodies can't make them by themselves. So some of our amino acids we don't need to get in our diet because our bodies can make enough of them, and it's cool. Other the amino acids we need to get from food. So any complete protein source is going to pretty much come from an animal. Soy is, I think, the only complete protein source that doesn't come from an animal. Yeah, those. So like chicken, steak, eggs, whey protein, because milk comes from a cow. Any of those kind of protein products will have those essential amino acids, and then three of those essential amino acids are branching amino acids. Dairy is any kind of dairy product, so milk, Greek yogurt. Whey is a derivative of dairy. Whey is kind of, I think, 20% of milk protein. Any kind of a dairy product is going to be incredibly high in branching amino acids. So I think most protein powders you'll find per 20 to 25 grams of actual protein, you're going to have somewhere between 5 to 10 grams of those being the branch chains. So if you're having like 25 grams of protein, probably just going to go to average of like you're getting 7.5 grams of the branch chains. So, and again, that's almost the same with whole foods. Like if you're eating chicken, you're getting branching amino acids. If you're eating steak, again, it's going to be a little bit different with each kind. I really couldn't even tell you what food sources, like actual meat sources are going to be the highest. But I know dairy is pretty much the highest you're going to find as far as like grams of branch chains per total branch chain or per total grams of protein. So that's why a recommendation I don't say. I give people the analogy: if you're eating plenty of protein, which most of my clients, people I consult with, are between 0.75 to 1.25 grams per body weight. Most people kind of fall in that 1 gram per pound. If you're, I kind of give the analogy, if you're filling up your car with gas, and again, the gas would be protein, pouring on some more branching amino acids would be like continuing to put gas in your car when it's full. For most people, it's not going to be necessary from just an anabolism point. And again, if you're getting to stuff like intermittent fasting or stuff like that, or if someone's pushing like their body to a level of 5-6% body fat or something, I think it can be beneficial just because your timing gets out of whack. But yeah, most people, and they're getting a high protein diet, they'll have plenty of branching amino acids. So
actually, your analogy about the tank already full and trying to put gas in it reminds me of another question. Everybody has a different opinion on this too, but it's the end of the day, and you didn't meet your macros, so you sit down, you eat half a chicken and a protein shake, right? And you just consumed 80 grams of protein. How much can your body? Can you really benefit from those 80 grams of protein, or is that a waste? And does the excess get stored as fat? Like, what the hell happens with all that protein?
Yeah, I can send you some really cool stuff. Like my newsletter that I put out through my website every few weeks. I talk about some really cool stuff like this. So let's see, to answer your first question. So to answer your first question, as far as how much protein your body can kind of utilize. So I guess the issue people have is the words like absorb and utilize and digest, and all these words kind of get like thrown in the same category when they're all kind of different. Your body will absorb whatever you put into it for the most part. It'll digest whatever you put into it. It'll kind of utilize whatever you give it. But again, like if someone's not training and they eat a lot of protein, they're not going to utilize it for muscle protein synthesis, I guess. So if you're training or something, it can differentially see how it's actually utilized. But I would say from protein experts, the people that all they do in their life study protein, like Dr. Lehman is probably the #1 guy. I think might be in Canada. Maybe Stu Phillips is in Canada. Stu Phillips and Dr. Lehman, they've been studying protein for like decades. Lehman actually recommends a minimum of 30 grams for most. It's like kind of based off your weight, so it may be like 0.3 grams per kilogram or something like that. But for most people, are going to fit somewhere between like 20 to 40 grams of protein per meal. So 30 grams is a pretty good like minimum amount to hit. That's kind of like where the mTOR pathway and muscle protein synthesis will start or be maximized at 35 grams of protein, and then you kind of like again, no one's really measured this. It's kind of hard to do because you'll see intermittent fasting studies where people will literally eat 80 grams of protein 2 times per day and lose almost no lean muscle mass or lean mass. But again, he'll kind of hypothesize that somewhere like in that 30 to 50 range is probably going to be ideal for people as far as like maximizing muscle protein synthesis. And again, so when you're looking at that over the course of the day, for most people that's going to be something like 3 to 5 high protein meals per day. So again, if you're trying to like maximize muscle protein synthesis throughout the day, again, it's not like black and white, like it turns on and off. Maybe like 30 grams at breakfast, 39 grams at lunch, 40 after your workout, and 37 at dinner. Kind of be like a good hypothetical way to go about things if you're trying to, again, go with what he's saying. Yeah, I would say that would be a theoretical, better way to do things. Again, not getting super anal with like, if I'm eating 200 grams of protein, I need 50 at 4 meals. But just kind of doing a more, again, for most people, it's kind of how they do things. They eat breakfast, they eat lunch, they eat dinner, maybe like post-workout. And it's kind of like they get 3 to 5 high-protein servings per day. It's not really revolutionary. But then again, like your body's going to kind of adapt to whatever you give it. So if you do overeat protein one day, again, there's some really cool research out. They gave one group, and I'll find the study and send it to you. They gave one group like so pretty much 2 grams per pound of body weight protein, which is like insanely high. It's like what bodybuilders will do, and it created like a 200 or 300 calorie surplus for these people, and they didn't gain any additional body fat from it. So again, I'll even talk about that energy balance. Like if you're eating more calories than you need, your body will store it as fat wherever it's coming from, carbs or fat or protein. But the difference is, I guess, like the thermic effect of food. So pretty much the thermic effect of food is how much energy your body utilizes to absorb, digest it, utilize it, right? So thinking of something like that almost takes no energy to do that would be like a really simple sugar, like sucrose or something like that, where it's like if you ate 400 calories of sucrose, you would probably store 350 of those, like almost all of it, like probably like a 10% thermic effect of that. Kind of in contrast to that, if you're like 400 calories of protein, you would probably only, utilize 250 to 300 calories of that. So you're going to lose probably anywhere from 20 to 40% of those calories just from breaking down those amino acids. Amino acids are like huge, look at the chemical structure, so it makes sense. It takes a lot to kind of break those down. It's not energy as efficient as like carbohydrates or fat, which again makes sense. Our bodies kind of run off of carbohydrates and fat. So
you're not saying with the glucose, you're not saying glucose is, glycogen stores are glucose, right? So
glycogen is the storage form of glucose, yeah.
So if you were to eat all that, consume all that glucose, it's not all for the glycogen stores. So
no, like so once your glycogen would be stored like fully, then it would be through de novo lipogenesis. It would then be stored through fat, but it would first be preferentially stored as glycogen. Once glycogen is stored, it'll go to fat. Yeah.
So it's more easily digested than
exactly.
Than protein.
Protein has to be, and again, like you'll see, that's a lot of protein. 2 grams per pound of body weight. That's that's like 350 grams of protein for me. I couldn't imagine eating that in a day. That's bananas. But yeah, there's some really cool stuff. Some really good researchers put it on, and they were shocked too. They were like, how these people did not gain any body fat from 300 calories extra of just pure protein is just kind of like mind-blowing. Yeah, so in theory, if you overeat protein, it would be stored as body fat. But as far as like the research, it doesn't get stored as body fat. It's kind of a strange thing people really can't figure out. And again, that's not like a recommendation for me to give people 2 grams per pound of body weight of protein, but it does usually make me push the upper ends of that, because again, people can eat more protein's also like most satiety macronutrient, so you get more full eating like a steak than you do, something not higher in protein. It's just going to fill you up more. So that helps people too with hunger to kind of push those higher ends of. I have to get a lot of people looking at that. Again, 1 to 1.25 of per pound. So.
What were those two names, Lehman and Phillips?
Stu Phillips, yeah.
Stu Phillips.
I can just dig up some of my old newsletters and yeah, in my book that I just came out with like a week or two ago, I talk about that a lot about because Lehman, I was just an intern at Texas Tech University. I worked with their athletic department, and we went to like a conference in Arizona, and Lehman was there and he gave like a 3-hour presentation on protein. So I kind of have like his whole PowerPoint stuff like that on stuff, and he even kind of mentions it though. He's like he studies protein for a living, and he says like most of the stuff he talks about is like kind of a hypothetical, as far as timing. But he says kind of what his lab shows, what most other labs show, is like if you're equating things over a long period of time and looking at total protein intake over that time, it tends to kind of balance itself out, as opposed to, there's not a big difference you'll see in 3 meals versus 4 and 2 meals versus 4, and maybe a difference between 2 meals versus 6 or something. But for normal standard like eating conditions, it's not going to make a huge difference if you're eating that kind of that total protein goal.
Okay. Yeah, I just find it difficult sometimes to eat like on a structured frequency or schedule.
Yeah.
And
I'd rather have people. So if you had to do one of those two things, again, the number one thing people struggle with is diet adherence, is just not being able to keep it up, right? So I try to make that as easy as possible. So I tell people, give you a few guidelines about fruits and vegetables and fiber and stuff, and then say, hey, eat these amount of fat, carbs, and protein per day. Again, the hardest part of that is just learning, how to track. But once you learn how to do that, it just kind of makes things easier. If you're not hungry, or if you can eat out, or if you're really busy one day, like you can adjust on the fly, as opposed to like being stressed out about I have to leave this place to eat and stuff like that. So.
right.
Again, even Lehman will say his stuff's pretty theoretical. It's not like he doesn't suggest to his clients that they must eat 4 big protein meals a day, kind of a thing. Good question.
I think I end up relying on protein powder too much.
Same here, as you can tell.
Buy a chicken. Buy a whole chicken a day. It's easy.
Buy a whole chicken, yeah.
I was actually spoiled because when I work with tech. I work with their sports nutrition department, so I didn't cook food for like 4 or 5 months because we would just. To give you guys an idea how spoiled our Division I athletes, they don't even eat with the rest of the school. We have like cafeterias just for them.
Yeah.
So we would eat like lunch with the athletes, dinner with the athletes, and then we would have them like post-workout shakes and bars and stuff like that. So you could pretty much just eat, whatever you want throughout the day. So I had to come back and start cooking food again. I was like, what is this?
Yeah, it's convenient to. In the morning you could just throw some blueberries and strawberries and spinach and some protein in a blender, and in 30 seconds you're out the door. And
Yeah, that's usually what I'm doing. I'm usually doing some sort of shake or some sort of like powder for breakfast and some either intra-workout or post. So I usually try to only have 2 shakes per day. That sometimes runs into 3 shakes per day. But
yeah.
I don't
Alright,
shakes
you have.
myself.
What's that?
I don't touch shakes myself. I just eat a lot of meat, eggs, and milk. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty much my protein for me.
I've also heard that protein powder is incredibly expensive, like overseas.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause I'll tell like a lot of my international clients that they're like having trouble getting protein, and I was like, just buy a protein powder, and it's like $100 for like 2 pounds or something. It's just like stupid money. Like,
Yeah.
It's cheaper to buy from US and get delivered here than it is to buy it here.
Wow.
really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Smaller market, they can charge more.
All right. Before we'll probably have some more questions when I kind of like talk about stuff. I just want to get this out of the way though. So updates, are kind of the most important thing. So usually, definitely you guys all have like my email now, and obviously you have the Fitocracy stuff to post questions on. So like, if you ever have a question, you can definitely shoot it to me like right away. You don't have to kind of ask. But updates, I would say like either Saturday or Sunday, probably whenever you finish your workouts. Just kind of like you can send me an email, or I'll probably just end up checking your spreadsheets with like your macros, your calories, your weigh-ins, all those things. And then I'll kind of get back to you probably the next 12 to 24 hours about the changes we'll make for the next week. So again, your training won't change much as far as like the exercises, sets, and reps, but it will change a little bit with like, you know, what we're kind of shooting for with like the weights each week. And again, we'll probably won't make too many changes in nutrition for this second week, but then after that, once I see kind of like 2 weigh-ins from you guys, I'll probably make some adjustments based on your goals. So yeah, that's really the only thing you guys need to do though. Log your training, weigh-ins, and then like what your food was that week, and then shoot me an email or whatever. And again, you'll see there's like pretty sure I put this for you guys. There's like a little subjective, yeah, so there's like a little questionnaire at the end of your training. Just talks about like stress and your nutrition, your sleep and stuff. It's pretty simple. It's really kind of black and white questions. So make sure you fill out every week. It's kind of like a baseline information that I need. And then again, you can always like give me more stuff like, hey, this exercise feels weird, or like, you know, Carl was saying I hate carbs, or, you know, whatever, any kind of other information you want to give me. I'm definitely open with stuff. So if you have any kind of questions or concerns with stuff, bring them up, probably in the email if it's semi-personal. So yeah, that's all we'll do for the updates, either Saturday or Sunday. Let's see what else. Kind of talk about weekly progression, how that'll be kind of be individualized. So again, this first week, train hard, but don't kill yourself. And then we'll kind of look at your weights. I'll look at kind of the perceived difficulty of them, and then we'll kind of adjust things based on that. Exercise selection 2. This is how it's going to be with working with this many people and times and all that stuff. So if you don't have like I've trained at gym before where I didn't have a dip bar or something, just ask questions about kind of substitutions for those. I put some stuff in there, like with dips you can do tricep push downs or something. If worse comes to worse, just kind of think about like muscle groups and like movement patterns. So even some of my clients, I'll prescribe for them like a barbell overhead press, and then they'll do their movements. They'll get the barbell overhead press, and then all the squat racks are taken. They can't do an overhead press. So again, you kind of use some common sense and just go grab some dumbbells and do overhead press. It may not be the exact specific thing I laid out for you, but again, real world comes into play, and you kind of be able to adjust on the move like that. So again, exercise selection. If you have any issues, definitely have like a mobility issue or like painful issue, definitely let me know about it. But even if you don't like the exercise or like the equipment is not ideal for it, just let me know, and we can always make adjustments on that. Kind of talked about how we'll kind of go in 3 phases of 4-week blocks. It'll pretty much just be a linear progression of, so linear just meaning that the weights should probably kind of go like this. So the reps will probably go kind of like this. So the I call it accessory work. So you'll see how like there's pretty much a big movement every day, like exercise 1 like deadlift or squat or whatever, and then I'll kind of have you resting a good amount of time between that. And then the other kind of stuff, like dumbbell bench with a 1-arm row or something, that will probably get heavier, but it probably won't get super heavy. So it may be 10 to 12 the first 4 weeks, and then 8 to 10 the next 4 weeks, and then maybe like 5 to 7 the last 4. But again, for those movements, I'm really working about not so much strength, more kind of like overall kind of metabolic fatigue with those exercises, burning calories, hopefully building some muscle if you're eating enough. So again, we'll use the big movements as a good kind of measure to gain strength, the other stuff to kind of build muscle and also help with fat loss. That'll kind of be how that goes. So the big movements will definitely get heavier, drop in reps, but the assistance work, some of it won't drop at all. Like I won't have anyone do like sets of like 6 to 8 back extensions or something like that. So those kind of movements will stay lighter, I guess. Kind of a few things I probably already mentioned about nutrition-wise, but again, like make sure you can see that tab on there. It says like flexible dieting guidelines. It kind of just talks about some stuff. I know, again, with this many people, we're going to have tons of different questions about nutrition or whatever. So again, that will clear up a lot of stuff about like my general recommendations. But again, kind of like give a 2-second kind of overview of it. I'm really not concerned with the exact food you're eating, whether you want to get your protein from chicken or eggs or steak or whey or milk or whatever. I'm really not concerned if you want to eat sweet potatoes or white potatoes or rice. Again, same thing with like your fat sources. I just have general guidelines of like I want your fiber to be a certain amount, I want your protein to be a certain amount, carbs a certain amount, and fat to be a certain amount. And as long as your food choices allow you to hit those numbers, and again, especially fiber, because that's the one you really can't cheat. You know, you didn't have that fiber thing, you could probably eat, you know, a lot of, you know, kind of junk all day and still meet your macros. But if you have to eat, you know, a certain amount of fiber, then you can't really do that. You can't really cheat that. So make sure you're hitting those like kind of 4 targets. I didn't put like a fiber goal for each person on there. I didn't put like I want, you know, Dan to have 35 and Mark to have 30 or whatever. I would say for most men, it's going to be a minimum of like 25 grams. I think I put 30 on the guidelines, but 25 to 30 is a good minimum to have every day. And then for most women, 20 to 25 is going to be a good minimum to have. Not really a maximum there. Again, your fiber is going to be a part of your carbohydrates, so you can't really cheat that. Again, if you're getting like maybe above 60-ish grams, you could have like some utilization, some absorption of nutrient issues. So maybe not above like 60 grams, but that probably won't be a huge issue for most people. So yeah, just read through if you're not watching this, if you're not live, make sure you read through the guidelines. If you have any questions, again, just email me. That's pretty much all I wanted to go over that I thought we didn't specifically talk about, I guess. So, also, I guess a question for everyone here that can actually reply. I'll probably end out sending like with the updates, like, hey Jennifer, your spreadsheet's up to date or whatever. I'll probably end up sending you guys just like some decent like reading material that I think would be beneficial for like our group and stuff. So, is there anything? It's probably come with time. Like, what are some like general things you guys would think you would want to learn more about as far as just like articles and stuff like that?
I would say anything nutrition related for me.
I concur.
Right up my alley. Anything else? Any like specific nutrition stuff?
It doesn't matter. I'll read it.
Okay. Perfect. I'll probably dig up some like baseline older-ish stuff too that will kind of like I would say explain the reason why I look at nutrition the way I do, if that makes sense. Kind of give you guys a good background on that. Two, if you guys want to, my book is super cheap, only 15 bucks. If you guys want to buy my book online, that'd be a great expedited process. It's like 90 pages, so I can't explain 90 pages to people in an hour. That'll probably give you a more than enough info. That kind of book is designed for someone to read and never really need to think about nutrition again. They're kind of just like good to go. They know what's going on. So again, that would be a great resource, and that has a ton of like probably the stuff I'm going to send you is probably going to be excerpts from that book as far as like resources and studies and videos and stuff. So that'd be like a pretty damn good resource about flexible dieting. So yeah, definitely nutrition. Anything like training specifically wise?
Mobility for me. I have a problem with my both shoulders.
Shoulder mobility. Okay. I feel you. You should see me lift overhead. It's like I don't have a scapula or something. Anything else? We got like general nutrition, training, we have mobility stuff. I'll probably just throw in some things that I think is cool too, but
Sleep.
sleep stuff.
Yeah, I have a very hard time falling asleep. I can be asleep, but I can't fall asleep.
Sweet. Do you know what my website is?
Yeah, I have it somewhere in my 100 tabs or so I have open.
Okay. I'm literally the last 3 posts I've made is about sleep. It's like sleep part 1, sleep part 2, sleep part 3. So that's kind of funny that you asked that. There will be a 4th part too, but the first one I kind of talk about more kind of setting the table, but it's just like what happens when people get sleep deprived. I do some studies on like cognition and reaction time. I think the second one is about I think like some athletes. They did like kind of the same test, and they did like maybe like Olympic lifters, and if it affected their 1 rep maxes and stuff like that. And then like when they gave some athletes more sleep, like they did a really cool study on like Stanford basketball players. They told them to sleep like 8 to 10 hours a day, and they measured like 3-point percentage and free throw percentage and all that stuff. And then the third one I think is your environment. Again, that's just kind of like some basic stuff on what you can do prior to sleep, while you're sleeping to sleep better. And then the 4th one, which isn't out yet, will be like some nutrition stuff. I think that's it. Maybe nutrition's 3rd. I don't know. Look it up. It's really cool. They'll give you some. Pretty much all I did was like for a week was look at sleep research, then made those blog posts. So. Nutrition, training, mobility, sleep. All right, we have any other questions?
Yes, we do. At least for me. I've been thinking about warm-up. I've looked at the videos posted. And how long should you warm up? I mean, how long is too long? Because I know if you go too long, you like into cardio mode or something, whatever.
Yeah.
How much is too much?
So I should have mentioned that. So yeah, warm-up stuff. I have 2 videos in the warm-up tab that were like by me, probably like 15 minutes total. I think it's just called like how to warm up for strength training. It's pretty a general outline of like what I tell people to do. Again, warm-ups are so individual because like I'm telling like someone, again, like the theory behind warming up is like you want to increase your body temperature, you want to mobilize any restrictions you have that you can't do the exercises. You want to kind of like prime those muscles you're using and prime your CNS. But every single person is going to have stuff that's a little bit tighter or looser or whatever. Every single person is going to have a little bit different time to warm up to something. So a general warm up for people is harder to do than an actual general workout. It's actually harder to program. So I would say maybe like 5 minutes on each of those, like max, is probably going to be a good starting point. So again, if I'm talking about like increasing my core body temperature, again, it's like summer, at least in America, where I am, so it's pretty warm here. So like increasing my core body temperature, I don't have to do anything for. I can just walk in the gym, and I'm pretty warm. And when I do some stretching and some higher intensity stuff, I'm going to start sweating. That's really not an issue for me. if it was December here, I probably would just like walk on the treadmill for 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes to kind of get warm. So again, that can range from 0 minutes to like 5 as far as like getting your temperature up. And then again, kind of second thing is like any mobility restrictions. Again, if like you're squatting and you just have horrible ankles, you may need to spend 2 minutes on each ankle of like stretching stuff, just on your ankles. 1 or 2 minutes on each ankle or something. Someone else who, like most females, have almost no like mobility restrictions. They're pretty good to go. They may need to cue more of like not overextending movements, not just throwing their elbow and their shoulder up. They need to more work on like stability stuff. So again, I would say like in general, 0 to 5 minutes increasing your core body temperature. I would say try not to spend any more than like 10 minutes max on mobility stuff. So maybe like for you, you have shoulder range of motion issues. I'd probably spend like the most of your time, even on your lower body days, kind of warming, getting like some more stuff there. So like some foam rolling in your thoracic spine, like your lats, shoulder, stuff like that. And also do some specific stuff to do like a max of 5 to 10 minutes there. And then again, like your general warm up, which is like the actual movements you're doing, could be another like 5-ish minutes, like just ramping up to your top set. So I would say if you're, it's kind of hard to like be black and white, but if you're not probably from the second you step in the gym to the second you touch a barbell, at least in this barbell or heavy dumbbell, if it's more than like 15 minutes, unless you have some pretty severe mobility restrictions or you're just kind of like kicking around talking to people, it's probably a little bit too long. I would say almost no one I know that takes their warm-up seriously takes longer than 15 minutes. So that's probably a general guideline to go with. Practically, too, you don't want to, if you have an hour and a half in the gym, you don't want to spend 30 minutes warming up kind of a thing. You want to make sure you're ready to go, but you don't want to just, people lay in the foam roller like it's a game and think they're working out for half an hour kind of a thing. So be minimalistic with your warming up. And I do have some videos by DeFranco, which are pretty damn good, like general warm-ups. Again, it's probably a little overkill because a lot of people aren't going to have issues with some of the exercises he's doing, but there's like a really general lower body warm-up and a really general upper body warm-up. So I'll kind of start with those warm-ups and then throw out the stuff that you feel like you don't need. Like if it's, again, like most people I would say aren't going to have huge issues with like upper body range of motion, so you probably don't need to do a lot of that, but like hips, I would say, is a good one for a lot of people. Like I know DeFranco does like the couch stretch, the front of his hip. That's probably one you probably want to do almost every lower body warm up. Same thing with ankles. So start there. Use the stuff you think is useful. Throw out the stuff you don't think is useful. Usually it will probably take 10 to 15 minutes. So. Warm up. Good question.
Greg, one more question. You just mentioned heavy dumbbells, and it made me think of this. This is stupid, but maybe you know a trick. My gym's at home. It's in my basement, and over the years I've gotten just about everything I need to work out, so the whole family has everything they need. But when it comes to dumbbell bench press, my heaviest set of dumbbells are 50s.
Okay.
So I can get them and sit down and I can work with them, but to go heavier, I have these other dumbbells we can slide plates on.
Oh, okay.
But how do you get the dumbbells? There's no one there to spot, is my point. So how do you, is there a trick to getting them up on a flat bench and then going?
Yeah, there's actually, like this was one of like the first videos I ever watched on YouTube. It's really funny. You guys know who Scott Herman is? He's like one of the biggest YouTube people of all time. This guy changed my life, and I teach people this all the time. I think I can post a URL in here. I don't really post a lot of my dumbbell work on YouTube, but I've done this since like I was, I don't know, 16. Because like a lot of people will just literally just like kind of have the dumbbells and kind of like fall, and it's really hard to like get in good position especially like your back, and you're just kind of like, the first rep is usually like the hardest rep. Just
Yeah.
getting like from a dead stop to whatever.
Well, I've got terrible lower back too. So when you do that, when you start seated and then go back, it's not good for your lower back.
Yeah.
Not good for legs.
Again, yeah, if you don't have someone to hand you the dumbbells, you get that same thing with like dumbbell like military press. Like, I stopped doing those because I got, not to like act like I'm a badass, but I got so strong. The hardest part was getting it to my shoulder, and it was just kind of dangerous to like kind of get that here. So I kind of stopped doing dumbbell military press for that reason. Hopefully you can see that link I posted in the right. It's called like his dumbbell trick, but he pretty much just like puts them on his knees, and it kind of freaks people out the first time you do it, because you like have to kind of like get some momentum and rock, and then you kind of just like straighten your arms. You kind of have the dumbbells in place here. Once you get the hang of it, though, it's perfect. It's really good. Yeah. With incline bench press, it's not too hard for me. I usually just kind of like put them on my knees, and I'll kind of just like kick my knee as high as I can to get it to like pretty high. I'll kind of just set it. That's kind of a trick I've used. You can't obviously do that with a dumbbell bench press. So you'll see that Scott is kind of like, he uses like a few rock backs. Again, I would just use some common sense and start pretty light. Do it with like 20 pounds or something, and then work your kind of way up to your heavier weights to kind of practice it. But it's not as like crazy as it might look the first time you see it.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole, my wife quickly got tired of me calling her down to the basement. Hey, give me a hand with this.
Yeah, that'll be a good alternative.
All right, I'll check out that link. Thanks.
Yep. Hopefully other people can see that link and they watch this too. Yeah, so I think, is there any other questions? I don't want to leave anybody else out. Questions and stuff. Any kind of questions? Pretty good. Okay, so my plan, I thought, would be pretty good to have bi-weekly. This is maybe kind of a bad time, but yeah, so I guess bi-monthly Google chats. So after 2 weeks we'll have one, after 4 weeks we'd have one, after 6 weeks we'd have one. Definitely after like the first training block, the second training block, I think it's important, because then things will change. People have a lot of questions about stuff. I think that's a good time. But I also think that every 2 weeks would probably be a good time. Maybe too long. It may be maybe a lot of people won't have any issues for 2 weeks, but I think some people would. So I think 2 weeks would probably be a good time frame for doing this. Maybe we can change the time, maybe not. Again, it's going to be almost impossible to get more than a handful of people in these and not just have to record it because of the time difference. But probably weekends going to be the best time for people and stuff like that. So we'll probably chat again after the second week as like a whole team. But again, like if someone needs to like talk one-on-one or something, I'm more than welcome to set up something on an individual basis. Yeah, so you can hit me up, and again, like email, Fedocracy, whatever, if you don't want to have a video chat. So, any other questions?
Yes. Call full of questions.
Good.
If I want to do more in the workout, what should I do? Should I just finish out with a couple of more deadlifts if it's a deadlift workout, or should I do complexes? Because, as I said, I have like energy forever.
You're gonna make everybody else mad. They're like,
Yeah,
oh.
This guy won't eat carbs. He's running. He's delivering mail 10 miles a day, and then he goes and works out. And he wants to know what else he can do.
See, Greg, I don't eat food, and I have too much energy. So,
Yeah.
what I would probably do. So, like, if you, I can't like remember off the top of my. So I have like body recomp as your main goal. And we can kind of adjust this with your personal volume, but again, you can kind of adjust this on your own. If one day you're feeling like you want to get some more strength work in, and again you have the time and the energy, I would maybe, if it says, I probably wouldn't change the deadlifts this week, but say if it does like, for you I have barbell incline bench press with chin ups, 3 sets of each of those. If you feel like you have the time and the energy, just just ramp the volumes, do like 4 sets of each of those. Or if it says like 2 sets of each and you feel like you have the energy, go up to 3 sets. I wouldn't go crazy with it. I wouldn't go like 2 sets to 5 or something. You can kind of, even for you, I think you can put a damper on your recovery if you do that too often. So yeah, I'd probably just increase the sets by like a prescribed 1. And again, we can kind of adjust that as we go if the volume's not high enough for you. That'd probably be the best thing to do, though, is not really add any exercises, just add to the volume.
Yep.
I have a feeling that won't be a frequently asked question. All right, last call for questions. Carl?
I'm good.
There we go. Anyone else? Still good? Okay. So yeah, in 2 weeks, we'll probably have the same exact thing. I think this Google Chat is pretty easy people to enter too. So I'm pretty damn sure this is recording. So for everyone else watching this, again, if something didn't make sense and you didn't have time to make a specific question, email me, shoot it, Photocracy, whatever. We can chat it up. So nice meeting you guys.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
See ya.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.